Fallout 4 is an action role-playing game developed by Bethesda Game Studios and published by Bethesda Softworks. It was released worldwide on the 10th of November 2015, and it serves as the fifth main entry in the Fallout series. The game is set in the year 2287, which places it about 210 years after the Great War of 2077. Fallout 4 takes place in a region known as the Commonwealth, which is based on the real-world area of Massachusetts, with the largest concentration of ruins and landmarks centered around Boston. One of the most distinctive things about Fallout 4 is that it begins with a playable pre-war sequence. The player character starts in Sanctuary Hills, a suburban neighborhood that still looks clean and intact, with bright colors, working appliances, and a sense of normal daily routine. This opening is designed to show what the Fallout universe looked like before the bombs fell, and it provides a sharp contrast to the ruined world that appears after the time jump. The opening also introduces the player character's spouse and infant son, Sean, who becomes central to the game's main story. During Fallout 4's introduction, the player sees Vault-Tec representatives going door to door, signing residents up for spots in Vault 111. The game shows Vault-Tec's role as a major pre-war corporation and highlights how vault spaces were treated as valuable opportunities. Shortly after the player finishes character creation, the Great War begins. Fallout 4 depicts the nuclear strike as a sudden event, with emergency broadcasts and distant explosions visible from the neighborhood. The player and their family run to Vault 111, entering the vault just as the blast wave approaches the horizon. Vault 111 is one of Fallout 4's most important early locations because it establishes the game's central premise of time displacement. The residents of Vault 111 are placed into cryogenic stasis, meaning they are frozen rather than simply sheltered. Vault 111's experiment was designed to test the effects of long-term cryogenic freezing on humans. The player character awakens briefly during a critical moment when their spouse is killed and Sean is taken. After this, the player is frozen again and later wakes up for a second time, alone in a vault that has largely collapsed into silence. When the player character exits Vault 111, they enter the Commonwealth and find that more than 2 centuries have passed. Sanctuary Hills is now ruined, overgrown, and filled with debris. The game uses this moment to show how the environment has changed over time and to establish the player's emotional motivation, which is finding Sean. Fallout 4's main quest begins as a personal story about family, but it gradually expands into a larger conflict involving the region's major factions and the future of the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth in Fallout 4 includes a large variety of environments. There are suburban ruins, dense urban areas, industrial zones, forests, coastlines, and swampy regions. Boston itself is filled with tall buildings, narrow streets, collapsed highways, and dangerous enemy encounters. The map is designed to encourage exploration, and many locations include optional stories told through notes, terminals, and environmental detail. Fallout 4 is known for placing unique items, hidden loot, and small narrative scenes throughout the world to reward players who explore carefully. One of Fallout 4's most recognizable early locations is the Red Rocket truck stop, which is located near Sanctuary. Many players use Red Rocket as an early base because it is close to the starting area and has a simple layout for settlement building. The Red Rocket location includes a garage, a workbench area, and a doghouse where the player can meet Dogmeat, one of the most iconic companions in the Fallout series. Dogmeat is a German shepherd who can travel with the player and assist in combat and exploration. Dogmeat in Fallout 4 is notable because he is not tied to the companion affinity system in the same way as human companions. Dogmeat can be used as a companion without preventing certain other companion-related benefits in some versions of the game. Dogmeat can also be given items to carry, can hold enemies in place during combat, and can help locate objects or enemies. Dogmeat's presence adds a consistent sense of companionship in a world that can otherwise feel lonely and dangerous. Fallout 4 introduces players to the settlement building system very early, and this system becomes one of the game's most defining mechanics. Settlements allow players to build structures, place furniture, assign settlers to jobs, grow crops, generate water, and create defensive systems. The player can establish a network of settlements across the Commonwealth, turning scattered locations into connected communities. The settlement system is tied to scavenging and crafting because building requires components that are gathered by collecting and breaking down junk items found throughout the world. Junk items in Fallout 4 have a practical purpose because they can be scrapped into crafting materials. Items like duct tape, typewriters, fans, alarm clocks, and toys can be broken down into components such as screws, adhesive, gears, circuitry, and aluminum. This system changes the way players look at the environment, because many objects that would normally be ignored in other games become valuable resources. Adhesive is especially important because it is required for many weapon and armor modifications, and players often grow crops like mutfruit, corn, and tatos to create vegetable starch, which can be broken down into adhesive. Weapon modification is a major feature in Fallout 4. Players can customize guns at weapon workbenches by changing parts such as barrels, receivers, stocks, magazines, and sights. This allows the same base weapon to be turned into different variants. For example, a basic pipe rifle can be modified into a sniper-style weapon or an automatic weapon, depending on parts. Energy weapons can also be modified, and some weapons have unique mod options that affect their behavior. This system adds long-term progression because players can continue upgrading favorite weapons rather than constantly replacing them. Armor modification is also important in Fallout 4. Players can customize armor pieces with different materials and upgrades. Leather armor, metal armor, and combat armor can be improved, and certain perks allow more advanced modifications. Fallout 4 also includes clothing layers, meaning the player can wear underclothing and armor pieces at the same time, depending on the outfit. This layering system gives players more flexibility in appearance and defense, and it allows different combinations for role-playing or optimization. Power armor in Fallout 4 functions differently than in Fallout 3 or Fallout New Vegas. Instead of being a normal armor item worn like clothing, power armor in Fallout 4 is a suit that the player enters, similar to a vehicle. Power armor consists of a frame and separate pieces, including a helmet, torso, arms, and legs. These pieces can be damaged and repaired. Power armor requires fusion cores to operate, and fusion cores drain over time while the suit is used. This design makes power armor feel heavier and more mechanical, and it encourages players to manage power armor use strategically. Fallout 4 includes multiple power armor models. The T-45 model is one of the first models many players encounter, especially early in the game. The T-51 model is considered one of the classic Fallout designs and appears in Fallout 4 as a more advanced suit. The T-60 model is strongly associated with the Brotherhood of Steel in Fallout 4 and appears frequently once the Brotherhood arrives in the Commonwealth. The X-1 model is an advanced suit that can be found later in the game and is associated with high-level locations and rare loot. Fusion cores are a key resource in Fallout 4 because they power not only power armor, but also certain weapons, such as the Gatling laser. Fusion cores can be found in generators, military sites, and abandoned buildings, and they can be purchased from some vendors. Managing fusion core supply becomes part of the game's resource loop, especially for players who rely heavily on power armor. Fallout 4's survival-focused modes make fusion core management even more important because resources are more limited. Fallout 4's combat system is built around real-time shooting, with optional use of VATS, the Vault-Tec Assisted Targeting System. VATS allows players to slow down combat and target specific body parts using action points. Targeting limbs can cripple enemies, reducing their ability to fight effectively. For example, crippling a leg can slow a creature down, while crippling an arm can reduce an enemy's weapon accuracy. VATS also allows critical hits, and in Fallout 4, critical hits can be stored and triggered manually, giving players more control over when to use them. Fallout 4 uses the SPECIAL system for character stats, and it ties perks directly to those stats. The perk chart in Fallout 4 is a grid that shows perk categories connected to each SPECIAL attribute. As players level up, they can choose perks that improve combat, crafting, settlement building, stealth, and dialogue. Some perks unlock new crafting options, such as Gun Nut for weapon mods, or Armorer for armor upgrades. Other perks improve survival, such as increasing carry weight or improving damage resistance. Carry weight is an important limitation in Fallout 4, especially because players often collect large amounts of junk for crafting. Players can increase carry capacity through perks like Strong Back or by using companions to carry items. Managing inventory becomes a constant part of the gameplay loop, and many players develop habits such as regularly returning to settlements to deposit junk into workbenches. Fallout 4's workbenches share materials across connected settlements if supply lines are established through the local leader perk, which allows settlers to function as provisioners traveling between settlements. The Commonwealth includes many major settlements and hubs, and Diamond City is one of the most important. Diamond City is built inside Fenway Park and serves as a large marketplace and social center. It includes vendors, guards, residential areas, and important quest givers. Diamond City is also home to Diamond City Radio, which is hosted by Travis Miles. The city's stadium walls provide strong defense, making it one of the safest locations in the region, though it still struggles with internal problems like fear of synth infiltration. Nick Valentine is one of Fallout 4's most notable companions and is introduced through a quest in Diamond City. Nick is a synth detective with a personality inspired by noir storytelling. His presence adds depth to Fallout 4's synth theme because he is both a machine and a character with strong emotions and moral judgment. Nick's companion quest and dialogue explore themes of identity, memory, and what it means to be human in a world where technology can copy life. Fallout 4 also includes Piper Wright, a journalist who runs a newspaper called Public Occurrences. Piper is known for investigating corruption and exposing secrets in Diamond City. Her character reflects Fallout 4's theme of information control and paranoia, since the Commonwealth is filled with rumors about the Institute and fears about synths replacing people. Piper can become a companion, and her affinity system rewards choices that align with curiosity, honesty, and helping others. This part of Fallout 4's facts focuses heavily on the game's foundations, including its setting, opening sequence, early companions, crafting systems, and core mechanics. Fallout 4's design emphasizes exploration, customization, and rebuilding, creating a gameplay loop where players move between scavenging, combat, story quests, and settlement management. Fallout 4 includes several major factions that shape the story and the Commonwealth's political landscape, and these factions become more important as the player progresses beyond the early hours of the game. While the main quest begins with a personal motivation, the search for Sean eventually connects to larger conflicts involving the Institute, the Brotherhood of Steel, the Railroad, and the Minutemen. Each faction has its own goals, methods, and worldview, and the player's choices can determine which groups rise to power by the end of the story. The Minutemen are often the first faction the player encounters in a structured way. Early in the game, the player can meet Preston Garvey and a small group of survivors trapped inside the Museum of Freedom in Concord. This sequence is designed as a major introduction to combat and faction involvement. The player helps defend the group from raiders and then gains access to power armor and a minigun during the fight. The Concord battle also features a Deathclaw encounter, which is one of Fallout 4's most memorable early moments because it introduces a high-threat enemy very early in the game's progression. The Minutemen are based on the concept of a citizen militia, inspired by the historical Minutemen of early American history. In Fallout 4, the Minutemen are portrayed as a faction that once tried to protect settlements across the Commonwealth, but collapsed due to internal problems and loss of trust. Preston Garvey is presented as one of the last remaining Minutemen, and he believes the faction can be rebuilt if enough settlements work together. The player can become the Minutemen's leader and help establish a network of allied settlements. The settlement system is closely tied to the Minutemen because many Minutemen quests involve helping settlements with specific problems, such as raider attacks, kidnapped settlers, or hostile creatures nearby. These quests often result in new settlements joining the Minutemen, expanding the player's influence. While these quests can be repetitive, they are designed to support the idea of gradual rebuilding, where small acts of defense and support slowly create stability across the region. The Brotherhood of Steel becomes a major presence in Fallout 4 after the player reaches a certain point in the main quest. Their arrival is marked by the appearance of the Prydwen, a massive airship that flies over the Commonwealth and serves as the Brotherhood's mobile base. The Brotherhood's arrival is accompanied by vertibird patrols and an increase in Brotherhood activity across the map. The Prydwen's design and scale make it one of Fallout 4's most visually dramatic faction elements, and it reinforces the Brotherhood's identity as a powerful military force. In Fallout 4, the Brotherhood is led by Elder Arthur Maxon. Maxon is a young leader who represents a more aggressive and militarized Brotherhood compared to the versions seen in Fallout 3. The Brotherhood in Fallout 4 views many wasteland threats, including super mutants, feral ghouls, and synths, as dangers that must be eliminated. Their ideology is centered on controlling advanced technology and preventing what they see as the mistakes that destroyed the old world from repeating. The Brotherhood's equipment and structure are central to their identity. Brotherhood soldiers often wear power armor and use energy weapons, especially laser rifles. The Brotherhood also uses vertibirds for transportation and combat support. The faction operates with ranks such as knights, paladins, and scribes, and it maintains a strict chain of command. The Brotherhood's presence in Fallout 4 provides a strong contrast to factions like the Minutemen, which rely on volunteer defense rather than military hierarchy. The Railroad is another major faction in Fallout 4, and it is defined by secrecy and underground operations. The Railroad is dedicated to helping synths escape the Institute and start new lives. The Railroad treats synths as sentient beings who deserve freedom and protection. Because many people in the Commonwealth fear synths, the Railroad operates through hidden safe houses and coded communication. The Railroad's main headquarters is located beneath the Old North Church, and accessing it requires following a clue trail and solving a password puzzle. The Railroad's key members include Desdemona, who serves as the faction's leader, and characters like Deacon, who can become a companion. Deacon is known for his habit of using disguises and telling inconsistent stories about his past, which fits the Railroad's culture of secrecy and misinformation. The Railroad also includes agents like Tinker Tom, who provides technical support and believes strongly in conspiracy theories, and Dr. Carrington, who provides medical support and has a more skeptical personality. The Railroad's quest line is heavily connected to the Institute's synth program and the idea of memory manipulation. Synths who escape the Institute often undergo a process to have their memories wiped and replaced with new identities. This allows them to blend into the Commonwealth without being easily tracked. This aspect of the story raises questions about identity and freedom, since memory wiping can be seen as both a protective measure and a loss of self. The Institute is one of Fallout 4's most significant factions and is presented as the most technologically advanced power in the Commonwealth. The Institute operates from an underground facility and is responsible for creating synths. The Institute's technology includes advanced robotics, teleportation, and scientific infrastructure that far exceeds what most surface communities can access. The Institute is often blamed for kidnappings, disappearances, and infiltration, which contributes to widespread fear across the Commonwealth. Synths in Fallout 4 are divided into different generations. Early synths are more mechanical and visibly robotic, while later synths, especially third-generation synths, are nearly indistinguishable from humans. This ability to create human-like synths is central to the Commonwealth's paranoia. People fear that anyone could be replaced, and this fear affects settlement politics, personal relationships, and public trust. The Institute's role in the main quest becomes deeply personal for the sole survivor, because the search for Sean eventually leads to the discovery that Sean is connected to the Institute in a major way. Fallout 4 uses this twist to connect the protagonist's family story to the larger faction conflict. The Institute's leadership structure includes a director and various division heads, each responsible for different areas of research and production. The Institute's teleportation system is one of its most notable technologies. The player can access the Institute by building a signal interceptor, which requires advanced components and cooperation from one of the major factions. This part of the story emphasizes Fallout 4's crafting and scavenging systems, since the player must gather resources and complete tasks to gain access. The Institute's ability to teleport also reinforces its power, because it can move people and resources in ways other factions cannot. Fallout 4 also includes smaller factions and groups that contribute to the Commonwealth's identity. The Gunners are a mercenary group that appears throughout the map as a well-armed hostile force. The Gunners are more organized than Raiders, and often occupy strategic locations such as highways, forts, and rooftops. Their presence adds variety to combat encounters and provides a different type of human enemy compared to raiders. The Children of Atom are a religious group that worships radiation and nuclear power. They appear in Fallout 4 primarily through the Far Harbor expansion, though they have a presence in the base game as well. The Children of Atom view radiation as a form of divine power, and their beliefs create conflict with other communities that see radiation as purely dangerous. Their presence reinforces Fallout's theme that new religions and ideologies can emerge from the ruins. Fallout 4's companions play a significant role in exploring faction perspectives. Different companions react differently to the player's choices, and their personal beliefs often align with or oppose certain factions. For example, Paladin Danse is a Brotherhood companion who reflects the Brotherhood's ideology and discipline. Curie is a character connected to scientific curiosity and personal growth. Kate is a companion with a background tied to survival and trauma. Each companion adds narrative depth by responding to the world in a unique way. Paladin Danse is one of Fallout 4's most notable faction companions. He is introduced through a Brotherhood-related quest and is associated with the Cambridge Police Station. Danse is disciplined, loyal, and focused on the Brotherhood's mission. His story also becomes important to Fallout 4's synth theme, and his personal quest is one of the game's more significant companion storylines. Danse's existence as a companion helps connect the player to the Brotherhood's military presence and ideological conflicts. Fallout 4's faction system differs from Fallout New Vegas because it is structured around a smaller set of major factions with more defined quest lines. The player can interact with multiple factions at once, but eventually, the main story forces a commitment that leads to conflict with other groups. The ending of Fallout 4 changes depending on which faction the player supports, and the final missions involve major battles, infiltration, and the destruction or takeover of rival factions. The Commonwealth's faction conflict is shaped by fear, technology, and survival. The Institute's existence creates paranoia about infiltration. The Brotherhood's arrival introduces military force and strict ideology. The Railroad represents a secretive resistance movement focused on synth liberation. The Minutemen represent grassroots rebuilding through settlement defense. Fallout 4 uses these factions to explore different ideas about what kind of future the wasteland should have, and the player's decisions determine which vision becomes dominant. Fallout 4's quest structure is designed to support both a main story path and a very large amount of optional exploration. The main quest focuses on the sole survivor's search for Sean and the discovery of the Institute, but the game also includes dozens of side quests, faction missions, Radiant tasks, and location-based stories. Many quests can be discovered simply by walking into an area, overhearing a conversation, or reading a terminal, which encourages slow exploration and makes the Commonwealth feel layered with hidden events. One of Fallout 4's most consistent quest types involves helping settlements. Settlements can request help with threats such as raiders, super mutants, feral ghouls, or hostile wildlife. These tasks often lead the player to clear an enemy camp or retrieve an item. While these quests are often similar in structure, they serve a gameplay purpose by giving the player a steady source of experience, loot, and settlement support. They also reinforce the idea that the Commonwealth is unstable, with communities constantly at risk. Fallout 4 uses Radiant quests, which are procedurally selected missions that can repeat over time. The Minutemen, Brotherhood of Steel, and Railroad all have Radiant quest systems. This design provides an ongoing loop of objectives even after major story missions are complete. It also means that the game can continue generating activities for the player indefinitely, supporting long-term play and settlement management. The main quest begins in a very personal way, but it expands quickly as the player learns more about the Commonwealth. After leaving Vault 111, the player can search for clues about Sean by visiting Diamond City, which is one of the largest settlements in the game. Diamond City is important because it acts as a central hub for information, vendors, and major story contacts. The city's security force, known as Diamond City Security, helps keep the area relatively safe, and its market provides access to weapons, armor, and supplies. Nick Valentine is introduced as part of the search for Sean. Nick is a detective who can help track down missing persons, and his involvement brings the player into contact with the story of Kellogg, a mercenary connected to Sean's kidnapping. Kellogg is one of the most important early antagonists in Fallout 4, and his story is revealed through a combination of direct confrontation and memory exploration. Kellogg's presence shows how Fallout 4 uses individual characters to connect personal tragedy with larger faction systems. One of Fallout 4's most notable story mechanics is the use of memory sequences. After Kellogg is defeated, the player can use technology in the Memory Den to explore Kellogg's memories. The Memory Den is located in Goodneighbor and is operated by a character named Irma. The memory sequence provides background on Kellogg's life, his relationship with the Institute, and the timeline of Sean's kidnapping. This approach allows Fallout 4 to deliver exposition in a more interactive way than simple dialogue, and it helps establish how long the Institute has been influencing the Commonwealth. Goodneighbor is a key location in Fallout 4 because it serves as an alternative hub to Diamond City. Goodneighbor is smaller, but it has important vendors, quests, and characters. The town is run by Hancock, a ghoul who serves as the mayor. Hancock is notable because he is a charismatic leader who allows outsiders and unusual individuals to live in Goodneighbor. The town's atmosphere is more chaotic and lawless compared to Diamond City, and it includes locations like the Third Rail, which is a nightclub where the singer Magnolia performs. Fallout 4 includes multiple quest lines that revolve around pre-war technology and hidden facilities. Many quests lead the player into old laboratories, military bunkers, and corporate buildings. These locations often contain terminals that reveal pre-war planning, experiments, and internal conflict. Fallout 4 continues the Fallout tradition of using these places to show that the old world's collapse was influenced by greed, secrecy, and unethical research. The game's crafting systems support exploration by making many objects useful. Players collect junk not only for settlement building, but also for upgrading weapons and armor. This means that even small side quests can feel rewarding because they often lead to areas with valuable components like adhesive, aluminum, circuitry, and screws. Fallout 4's crafting system also encourages players to develop routines, such as returning to a settlement to store resources and upgrade gear. Weapon modifications in Fallout 4 can significantly change combat performance. Receivers affect damage and firing modes, barrels affect range and accuracy, and stocks affect recoil control. Sights and scopes affect aiming, and suppressors allow stealth playstyles. Some weapons, such as the laser musket used by the Minutemen, have unique mechanics. The laser musket can be cranked to increase damage, and it reflects the Commonwealth's scavenger approach to technology, combining old energy weapon design with improvised engineering. Fallout 4 also includes legendary weapons and armor. Legendary items are randomly generated gear with special effects, such as increased damage against certain enemy types or unique combat bonuses. Legendary enemies can drop these items, and this system adds unpredictability to loot. The legendary system encourages exploration and combat because players may find rare gear with useful effects. The game includes a wide variety of enemy types that shape different combat experiences. Raiders are common human enemies, often using improvised weapons and armor. Super mutants are larger and tougher enemies that often use heavy weapons. Feral ghouls are fast, aggressive enemies that often attack in groups. Synths are enemies associated with the Institute and often use energy weapons. Mirelurks are armored creatures found near water, and they can include variants such as Mirelurk Hunters and Mirelurk Queens. Fallout 4's enemy AI and encounter design often encourage players to approach combat strategically. Some enemies use cover and ranged weapons, while others rush the player quickly. VATS can be used to target limbs and reduce enemy mobility. Explosives, like grenades and mines, can be used to control space. The variety of enemies and environments supports different playstyles, from stealth sniping to close-range melee fighting. Fallout 4 includes multiple companion quests that deepen character stories. Companions gain affinity based on the player's actions, and reaching high affinity can unlock special perks. For example, some companions provide combat-related bonuses, while others provide crafting or survival advantages. Companion perks remain active even if the companion is not currently traveling with the player, which encourages players to build relationships with multiple companions over time. Kate is one of Fallout 4's companions and has a personal quest connected to addiction and trauma. Her story explores the role of chems in the wasteland and the consequences of survival through hardship. Curie is another companion, originally a Miss Nanny robot, who becomes involved in scientific curiosity and personal identity. MacCready is a mercenary with a past connected to Fallout 3, and his quest involves trying to help his son. These companion stories add emotional detail and make the Commonwealth feel populated by people with their own motivations. Fallout 4's perk system allows players to specialize in crafting, combat, or settlement building. The local leader perk is important for settlement networks because it allows the player to establish supply lines between settlements. Supply lines allow crafting materials stored in one settlement to be used in another, reducing the need to transport junk manually. This system supports large-scale settlement building and encourages players to create interconnected communities. The game includes multiple workbench types, including weapon workbenches, armor workbenches, chemistry stations, and cooking stations. Cooking stations allow players to prepare food that provides healing and buffs. In survival-focused play, cooked food becomes more important because it can provide reliable healing without the drawbacks of radiation from certain packaged foods. Chemistry stations allow players to craft chems, explosives, and utility items. These stations support the theme of wasteland improvisation, where survival depends on using whatever can be found. Fallout 4 includes multiple difficulty modes, and survival mode changes the game significantly. In survival mode, the player must manage hunger, thirst, fatigue, and disease. Fast travel is disabled, and saving is restricted, which increases risk during exploration. Combat becomes more lethal, and resource management becomes more important. Survival mode emphasizes careful planning, making settlement networks and safe locations more valuable. Fallout 4's world includes a large number of optional dungeons and interiors. Many buildings contain hidden loot, unique enemies, and environmental storytelling. Players can find small scenes that suggest what happened before the war or during the early post-war period. These scenes often involve skeletons, notes, and personal belongings arranged to tell silent stories. Fallout 4 uses these details to make exploration feel meaningful, even when no quest marker is involved. The Commonwealth also includes multiple major landmarks that anchor exploration. Locations like the USS Constitution, the Boston Common, the Massachusetts State House, and the ruins of the Financial District provide memorable settings. The USS Constitution questline is notable because it involves a group of robots attempting to complete a mission long after the war, which reflects Fallout's theme of machines continuing their routines without context. These landmark quests provide variety and often include humor, combat, and unusual rewards. Fallout 4's quest and exploration design encourages players to alternate between structured objectives and wandering discovery. Many players spend long periods focusing on settlement building, crafting, or clearing locations without advancing the main quest. This flexibility is part of Fallout 4's long-term appeal because it allows players to shape their own pacing. Whether focusing on story, combat, exploration, or construction, the game provides systems that support many different playstyles while keeping the Commonwealth consistently detailed and reactive. Fallout 4's world design is built around dense environmental storytelling, meaning that many of the game's most interesting details are not delivered through cutscenes or long explanations, but through what the player finds while exploring. Buildings often contain small clues about what happened before the war, how people reacted when the bombs fell, and how survivors lived afterward. This makes exploration feel like reading scattered pages of history, where the player is piecing together events from objects, terminals, holotapes, and the way rooms are arranged. One of the most common ways Fallout 4 tells stories silently is through the placement of skeletons and personal belongings. The game often uses these scenes to suggest a final moment, such as a family huddled together, someone hiding in a bathroom, or workers trapped in an office. These scenes can feel strange because they are frozen in time, but they also serve a clear purpose. They remind the player that the Commonwealth was once full of ordinary life, and that the apocalypse happened suddenly enough that many people never had time to escape. Terminals in Fallout 4 are one of the most important sources of factual information about pre-war companies and post-war survival. Terminals often include emails between co-workers, security logs, research notes, and personal diary entries. Many terminals also connect directly to gameplay systems, such as opening locked doors, disabling turrets, or activating protectrons. This means terminals are not just lore devices, but functional tools that reward players who invest in hacking perks. The hacking system in Fallout 4 uses the same basic structure as Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. Players are shown a screen filled with random characters and possible password words. Choosing a word gives feedback on how many letters match the correct password in the correct positions. The player can use this information to narrow down the answer. The hacking minigame also includes bracket pairs that can remove incorrect words or reset attempts, giving players a way to improve their odds if they search carefully. Lockpicking in Fallout 4 is another skill-based minigame that remains consistent with Fallout 3 and New Vegas. Players use bobby pins to rotate a lock cylinder and find the correct angle that allows the lock to turn without breaking the pin. Higher lock difficulty levels require more precise angles, and bobby pins can break if the player forces the lock too hard. Lockpicking rewards players with access to extra loot, alternate routes, and sometimes shortcuts through large interiors. Fallout 4's interiors often contain automated defenses that reflect pre-war security culture. Turrets are common in military facilities, corporate labs, and secure buildings. Some turrets are ceiling-mounted, while others are floor-based. Protectrons are another common security system, often found in malls, factories, and offices. These robots were designed for basic defense and law enforcement. In many cases, protectrons remain inactive until triggered by the player or by a security system. Mr. Handy robots appear throughout Fallout 4 and reflect pre-war domestic automation. Mr. Handy units were designed as household assistants capable of cooking, cleaning, and basic maintenance. Codsworth, the sole survivor's pre-war Mr. Handy, becomes one of the game's earliest companions and represents a direct link between the pre-war world and the wasteland. Codsworth's presence highlights the tragedy of time displacement because he remained in Sanctuary Hills for over 200 years, continuing routines in a world that no longer exists. Fallout 4 includes multiple robot types beyond Mr. Handy units. Mr. Gutsy robots are combat-oriented variants that often use patriotic voice lines and military weapons. Assaultrons are fast, deadly robots that can use powerful melee attacks and a head-mounted laser. Sentry bots are heavy robots with strong armor and heavy weaponry. iBots are smaller floating robots used for reconnaissance and communication. These robot designs reinforce the idea that pre-war America relied heavily on automation, especially for military and security purposes. The Automatron DLC expansion adds more robot-related content to Fallout 4, including new robot enemies and the ability to build and customize robot companions. This expansion introduces the Mechanist storyline and allows players to use a robot workbench to create customized robots with different limbs, weapons, and armor. The robot building system fits naturally into Fallout 4's crafting focus and gives players another way to personalize their gameplay experience. Fallout 4's crafting system is built around the idea that nearly everything can be useful. Weapons and armor can be modified, settlements can be expanded, and chems and food can be crafted. This creates a loop where exploration feeds crafting, crafting feeds combat strength, and combat strength allows deeper exploration. The game encourages players to collect materials, but it also forces them to manage carry weight, which creates constant decisions about what to take and what to leave behind. The Commonwealth's geography includes both urban and rural areas, and each environment supports different enemy encounters. Urban Boston is filled with tight streets, tall buildings, and frequent ambush points. Rooftops and highways create vertical combat spaces, and enemies can attack from multiple angles. Rural areas include forests, farms, and open fields where long-range combat becomes more effective. Coastal areas include beaches, docks, and shipwrecks where mirelurks and other aquatic creatures are common. Water in Fallout 4 is often contaminated, and drinking directly from natural sources can expose the player to radiation. Clean water can be produced in settlements through water pumps and purifiers. In survival mode, clean water becomes especially important because thirst mechanics force the player to drink regularly. This system reinforces Fallout's theme that basic resources like water are central to survival, and it encourages players to establish stable settlement infrastructure. Fallout 4's cooking system allows players to prepare meals using meat and plants. Cooking can remove radiation risks compared to eating raw food, and some cooked meals provide buffs such as increased endurance or damage resistance. Players can hunt animals like radstags, mole rats, and yao guai for meat. This system encourages players to engage with the world's wildlife as part of survival rather than treating animals as purely enemies. The game includes a wide variety of mutated creatures, and many are based on real animals altered by radiation. Radstags are mutated deer with 2 heads. Brahmin are mutated cattle with 2 heads and are used as pack animals. Bloatflies are mutated insects that can spit projectiles. Stingwings are mutated insect predators. Bloodbugs are aggressive mosquito-like creatures. These designs help make the Commonwealth feel like a natural ecosystem reshaped by the apocalypse. Feral ghouls are one of Fallout 4's most common and memorable enemy types. Ghouls are humans who were exposed to radiation and survived, but feral ghouls have lost their minds and behave like aggressive animals. Feral ghouls often attack in groups and can move quickly, making them dangerous in close quarters. Fallout 4's feral ghouls are known for sudden lunges and unpredictable movement, which creates tension in dark interiors. Super mutants appear throughout Fallout 4 as a major enemy faction. Super mutants are large humanoid creatures created through forced evolutionary virus experimentation. In Fallout 4, super mutants often occupy strongholds and use heavy weapons. They can be accompanied by mutant hounds, which are mutated dogs. Super mutants are dangerous because they have high health and strong attacks, and they often appear in fortified locations with multiple levels of cover. Raiders remain one of the most common human enemies in Fallout 4. Raider groups vary in appearance and equipment, but they typically use improvised armor and weapons. Raiders often occupy abandoned buildings, factories, and highway structures. Raider camps frequently include traps, guard posts, and barricades. Clearing raider camps is a common activity, and it supports the idea that lawlessness remains a constant threat in the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth also includes the Gunners, who are more organized than raiders and function as a hostile mercenary group. The Gunners often have better weapons and armor than raiders, and they occupy strategic locations such as bridges, towers, and fortified buildings. Their presence adds a different kind of human threat, one that feels more tactical and professional. Fallout 4 includes multiple unique quest locations designed to stand out from ordinary ruins. The USS Constitution questline involves a group of robots attempting to repair and launch a historic ship. This quest highlights Fallout's humor and its theme of machines, following orders long after the world has changed. The ship itself is located in an unusual position, surrounded by ruined buildings, which makes it visually memorable. Another distinctive location is the Glowing Sea, a heavily irradiated region in the southwest part of the map. The Glowing Sea is filled with radiation storms, dangerous creatures, and ruined structures. It serves as one of the game's most hostile environments and reinforces Fallout's nuclear apocalypse theme. Traveling through the Glowing Sea often requires radiation protection, such as power armor or hazmat suits, and it becomes a major test of preparation. Fallout 4's environmental storytelling extends to its weather and lighting. Radiation storms can sweep across the Commonwealth, turning the sky green and increasing radiation exposure. Fog and rain can change visibility, making exploration feel more tense. Day and night cycles affect enemy encounters, with some creatures and enemies feeling more dangerous at night due to limited visibility. The game's atmosphere is also shaped by its sound design. Distant gunfire, animal noises, creaking metal, and the hum of old machines create a constant background of life and decay. Radio stations provide music that contrasts with the wasteland's ruins, and this contrast becomes part of Fallout's identity. Players can choose to travel in silence or with music, and the experience changes depending on that choice. Fallout 4's world feels dense because it is filled with small details, interactive systems, and layered locations. Exploration is not just about finding loot, but about discovering stories hidden in the environment. Whether the player is reading terminal logs in a corporate lab, sneaking through a ruined apartment building, or building a settlement from scrap, Fallout 4 consistently reinforces its themes through the way the world is designed and the way the player interacts with it. Fallout 4 includes a large number of weapons, armor pieces, and item types, and the game's equipment variety is closely tied to its crafting and modification systems. Instead of treating weapons as fixed tools that are replaced constantly, Fallout 4 encourages players to develop long-term loadouts by upgrading and refining the gear they like. This makes progression feel more personal, because a weapon found early in the game can remain useful much later if it is modified and maintained properly. One of the most common weapon categories in Fallout 4 is pipe weapons. Pipe pistols, pipe rifles, and pipe automatic weapons are designed to look improvised, made from scrap metal and basic components. These weapons are common among raiders and early game enemies, and they reflect the Commonwealth's scavenger culture. Pipe weapons are often weak compared to military-grade firearms, but they are easy to find, easy to repair through replacement, and can be modified in many ways. Players can add scopes, stocks, suppressors, and stronger receivers, which can significantly improve performance. The 10mm pistol is one of the first standard firearms many players encounter in Fallout 4, and it serves as an early, reliable weapon. The 10mm pistol can be upgraded with improved receivers, better barrels, and larger magazines. Because ammunition for the 10mm is relatively common in the early game, the weapon often remains a useful sidearm for a long time. The 10mm pistol's design is also strongly associated with Fallout's visual identity, since similar pistols appear in other Fallout games. The combat rifle is another versatile firearm in Fallout 4. It can be modified into semi-automatic or automatic configurations and can be fitted with different sights and barrels. The combat rifle is commonly used by enemies and can be obtained through loot or vendors. Its flexibility makes it a popular choice for players who want a general-purpose weapon that works at multiple ranges. Shotguns in Fallout 4 include the double-barrel shotgun and the combat shotgun. The double-barrel shotgun is simple and powerful at close range, but it has limited capacity and slower reload speed. The combat shotgun has a larger magazine capacity and can be modified for better performance. Shotguns are effective for close-range combat, especially against fast enemies like feral ghouls, and they are often used in indoor areas where enemies can appear suddenly. Fallout 4 includes sniper-style rifles such as the hunting rifle. The hunting rifle is a bolt-action weapon that can be modified into a powerful, long-range tool. Players can add scopes, longer barrels, and improved receivers to increase damage and accuracy. The hunting rifle is effective for stealth playstyles because it can eliminate enemies from a distance before they notice the player. Its ammunition type can vary depending on modifications, and it often becomes a staple weapon for players who prefer careful, long-range combat. Energy weapons in Fallout 4 include laser pistols, laser rifles, plasma weapons, and other advanced technology. Laser weapons use fusion cells as ammunition, while plasma weapons use plasma cartridges. Energy weapons often have different damage profiles compared to ballistic weapons, and they can be modified with different barrels and capacitors. Laser weapons are commonly associated with factions like the Brotherhood of Steel, while plasma weapons often feel rarer and more advanced. The Institute has its own distinct energy weapons, such as the Institute laser rifle. These weapons have a sleek, futuristic design that reflects the Institute's technology. Institute weapons use fusion cells and can be found on synth enemies. The visual difference between Institute weapons and more rugged Commonwealth firearms helps reinforce faction identity through equipment. Heavy weapons in Fallout 4 include miniguns, missile launchers, and the Fat Man mini-nuke launcher. Heavy weapons are powerful, but often require rare ammunition and have high weight. The minigun is introduced early in Fallout 4 during the Concord sequence, where the player uses it while wearing power armor. The minigun's high rate of fire makes it effective for suppressing enemies, but it consumes ammunition quickly. The missile launcher provides explosive damage and is effective against strong enemies, but missiles are heavy and less common. The Fat Man is one of Fallout's most iconic weapons and appears in Fallout 4 as a rare but extremely destructive option. It launches mini-nukes that create large explosions, making it effective against groups of enemies or very tough targets. Mini-nukes are uncommon, so using the Fat Man is usually reserved for special moments. The weapon's existence reinforces Fallout's exaggerated approach to post-apocalyptic combat, where nuclear weapons can be carried by a single person. Melee weapons in Fallout 4 include basic tools like tire irons and baseball bats, as well as more specialized weapons like the Super Sledge. The Super Sledge is a powerful hammer-like weapon that can be modified and is associated with heavy melee builds. Melee combat in Fallout 4 can be very effective with the right perks, especially because melee weapons do not require ammunition. Players who invest in strength and melee perks can deal high damage and become extremely durable in close combat. Fallout 4 also includes unarmed combat options, such as boxing gloves and power fists. Power fists are mechanical gauntlets that increase unarmed damage and can be modified for different effects. Unarmed builds are less common than gun-focused builds, but they are viable with the right perk investment. Fallout's variety of combat styles supports role-playing, allowing players to create characters who fight with rifles, pistols, heavy weapons, stealth tactics, melee weapons, or fists. Explosives are another important part of Fallout 4's combat. Grenades, mines, and throwable explosives can be crafted or found. Fragmentation grenades are common, while plasma grenades and pulse grenades provide specialized effects. Mines can be placed on the ground as traps, which is useful for defending settlements or preparing ambushes. Explosives are especially helpful against groups of enemies or heavily armored targets. Legendary weapons and armor add randomness to Fallout 4's loot system. Legendary enemies can drop items with special effects, such as increased damage, faster reload speed, or unique defensive bonuses. These legendary effects can significantly change how a weapon performs, and some effects are especially desirable for certain builds. The legendary system encourages repeated combat and exploration because players may find rare combinations that suit their playstyle. Fallout 4 includes a wide variety of armor types. Early in the game, players often wear leather armor or raider armor, which provides basic protection. As players progress, they can find metal armor and combat armor, which offers stronger defense. Combat armor is often seen as one of the best general-purpose armor sets, especially when upgraded. The game also includes faction-themed armor, such as Brotherhood outfits, railroad gear, and Institute-related equipment. Armor in Fallout 4 is divided into separate pieces, such as left arm, left leg, right leg, chest, and helmet. This modular system allows players to mix and match pieces for different effects. It also means that players can upgrade individual parts rather than replacing an entire set at once. This supports customization and makes loot more flexible, since a single strong armor piece can improve a build even if the rest of the outfit is different. Fallout 4 includes clothing items that can be worn under armor pieces. Some outfits allow armor layering, while others do not. This system gives players more control over appearance and stats. Certain clothing items provide stat bonuses, such as increased charisma or intelligence. This encourages players to keep multiple outfits for different situations, such as wearing charisma-boosting clothing when trading or negotiating, and switching to combat gear for dangerous missions. The game also includes Ballistic Weave, an upgrade that can be applied to certain clothing items through the Railroad questline. Ballistic Weave increases damage resistance, making clothing much more protective. This upgrade allows players to wear outfits that would normally be cosmetic while still having strong defense. Ballistic Weave is considered one of the most useful upgrades in Fallout 4 because it increases survivability without requiring heavy armor pieces. Power armor remains a separate system from standard armor. Power armor provides high damage resistance and protection from radiation, but it requires fusion cores and maintenance. Power armor pieces can be upgraded at power armor stations, allowing players to improve durability and add modifications such as jetpacks, increased carry weight, or specialized resistances. Power armor mods require perks and materials, reinforcing Fallout 4's crafting progression. One of the most useful power armor modifications is the jetpack, which can be installed on certain power armor torso pieces. The jetpack allows the player to jump higher and reach rooftops or elevated areas. This changes exploration and combat by allowing new routes and escape options. Jetpacks require significant resources and perk investment, making them a late-game upgrade for many players. Fallout 4's weapon and armor systems also connect to the game's economy. Vendors sell ammunition, weapons, armor, and crafting materials. Caps remain the primary currency, and players earn caps through looting, trading, and completing quests. Bartering perks and charisma can improve prices, making trading more efficient. Players can also build stores and settlements, creating local vendor options and increasing settlement income. Ammunition in Fallout 4 has weight only in survival mode, but even outside survival mode, ammunition management is important because different weapons require different ammo types. Common ammo types include 1038 rounds for pipe weapons, 10mm rounds for pistols, 45 rounds for certain rifles, shotgun shells, fusion cells, and plasma cartridges. Players often carry multiple weapons using different ammo types to avoid running out of a single supply during long exploration sessions. The game's equipment variety supports different combat rhythms. Some players rely on stealth rifles and suppressed weapons to avoid direct fights. Others rely on heavy weapons and power armor to dominate combat encounters. Some prefer fast pistols and V, A, T, S, critical builds. Others focus on melee strength and durability. Fallout 4's systems allow these different approaches to remain viable, especially because perks and crafting can be tailored to strengthen whatever style the player chooses. Fallout 4's equipment systems are closely tied to exploration because the best gear often comes from dangerous locations, faction quests, or rare legendary drops. Players are rewarded for searching thoroughly, reading terminals, and clearing difficult areas. The Commonwealth's ruins contain both threats and valuable resources, and Fallout 4's weapons and armor progression is designed to make every expedition feel like an opportunity to improve, refine, and personalize the tools used to survive. Fallout 4 includes multiple systems that control how the player survives long-term, and these systems become more noticeable the longer the game is played. Even outside of survival mode, the player is constantly balancing health recovery, radiation exposure, ammunition supply, armor durability, and inventory space. Fallout 4's design encourages a steady rhythm of exploring, fighting, scavenging, returning to a safe location, upgrading gear, and then heading back out into the Commonwealth again. Health in Fallout 4 can be restored in several ways. The most common healing item is the Stimpack, which restores health instantly in standard difficulty modes. Stimpacks can be found in medical containers, purchased from doctors and vendors, or looted from enemies. Stimpacks are valuable because they provide reliable healing in combat, and many players keep a large supply for emergencies. Fallout 4 also includes other healing items, such as food and drinks, but those often restore smaller amounts of health or may include radiation side effects. Radiation is a major hazard in Fallout 4, and it reduces the player's maximum health when accumulated. Radiation can come from contaminated water, radioactive food, environmental hotspots, and certain enemy attacks. In Fallout 4, radiation is shown as a red section of the health bar that blocks maximum health until treated. The most common radiation treatment item is Radaway, which reduces radiation levels. Rad-X increases radiation resistance, helping prevent radiation buildup. Managing radiation is especially important in heavily contaminated areas like the Glowing Sea. The Glowing Sea is one of Fallout 4's most dangerous regions because of its intense radiation and hostile creatures. It is located in the southwest part of the map and is filled with ruined structures, craters, and constant radiation exposure. Traveling through the Glowing Sea usually requires strong radiation protection, such as power armor, hazmat suits, or a large supply of Radaway and Rad-X. The region's design reinforces Fallout's nuclear apocalypse theme and provides an environment that feels more extreme than most of the Commonwealth. Chems in Fallout 4 provide temporary boosts and can help in combat or survival situations. Psycho increases damage output, Jet slows down time, and Med-X increases damage resistance. Buff-Out increases strength and endurance, improving carry weight and survivability. Mentats increase intelligence and can improve dialogue-related performance in some situations. Chems can be found in the world, crafted at chemistry stations, or purchased from vendors. Many chems can cause addiction if used frequently, creating long-term penalties until treated. Addiction in Fallout 4 is a mechanic that adds risk to repeated chem use. When addicted, the player suffers stat penalties until the addiction is cured. Addiction can be treated by doctors, certain items, or in some cases, by waiting and managing symptoms, depending on difficulty settings. This system encourages players to use chems strategically rather than constantly, especially if they want to avoid frequent trips to doctors or spending caps on treatment. Fallout 4 includes multiple ways to manage long-term supplies. Players can store items in containers, but the most efficient storage system is the Settlement Workshop. Junk items placed in a settlement's workshop can be used for crafting and building within that settlement. If supply lines are established between settlements using the Local Leader perk, crafting materials can be shared across connected settlements. This makes large-scale building much easier and reduces the need to transport junk manually. The Local Leader perk is one of the most important settlement-related perks in Fallout 4. It allows the player to assign settlers as provisioners who travel between settlements and create supply lines. These supply lines connect workshop inventories for crafting components, though not necessarily for every item type. This system supports the idea of building a network of communities that support each other rather than isolated outposts. Settlements require certain resources to function well. Food is produced by crops like corn, mutfruit, tatos, and melons. Water is produced by pumps and purifiers. Beds provide shelter for settlers. Defense is provided by turrets, guard posts, and armed settlers. Settlements also require enough happiness to remain stable, and happiness can be improved through meeting basic needs, providing entertainment, and maintaining safety. Defense is a major settlement mechanic because settlements can be attacked by raiders, super mutants, or other hostile forces. Building turrets and walls helps protect settlements. Turrets come in multiple types, including machine gun turrets, laser turrets, and missile turrets. Better turrets require higher perk investment and more advanced materials. Settlers can also be assigned to guard posts, and arming settlers with better weapons can improve defense performance. Fallout 4 includes multiple workshop stations that support crafting and settlement development. Weapon workbenches allow weapon modification. Armor workbenches allow armor modification. Power armor stations allow power armor repair and upgrades. Chemistry stations allow crafting chems, explosives, and utility items. Cooking stations allow food preparation. These stations can be built in settlements, allowing players to create centralized crafting hubs. Cooking in Fallout 4 provides a way to gain healing without relying entirely on stim packs. Cooked food often restores health and may provide buffs such as increased damage resistance or improved endurance. Meat can be obtained from animals and creatures like radstags, mole rats, bloatflies, and mirelurks. Some cooked meals also provide radiation resistance or other survival benefits. Cooking becomes more important in survival mode, where food and water are required and stimpaks may have additional drawbacks. Survival mode in Fallout 4 changes the game's pacing and difficulty significantly. It introduces hunger, thirst, fatigue, and disease mechanics. The player must eat regularly, drink clean water, and sleep to avoid penalties. Fast travel is disabled, making settlement networks and safe routes more important. Saving is restricted to sleeping in beds, which increases the risk of losing progress. Combat becomes more lethal, and damage taken can be much higher. These changes make planning and preparation a central part of gameplay. Fallout 4's disease system in survival mode adds another layer of risk. The player can contract illnesses from sleeping in dirty beds, eating unsafe food, drinking contaminated water, or being attacked by certain creatures. Diseases can cause penalties, such as reduced stats or slower healing. Treatment may require antibiotics, doctor visits, or rest. This system reinforces the idea that the wasteland is dangerous not only because of enemies, but because of environmental hazards. Carry weight becomes more restrictive in survival mode because ammunition has weight. In standard difficulty modes, ammunition is weightless, allowing players to carry large amounts without penalty. In survival mode, ammunition weight forces players to plan loadouts more carefully and avoid carrying excessive amounts of multiple ammo types. This encourages specialization and makes inventory management a more constant challenge. Fallout 4 includes multiple forms of travel and movement that affect survival. Walking is the most basic method, but sprinting uses action points. Action points regenerate over time and are used for V, A, T, S attacks as well. Perks can increase action point regeneration or reduce sprint cost. Movement becomes a tactical decision during combat, especially for players who rely on V. A. The game's stealth system allows players to avoid direct fights and conserve resources. Sneaking reduces detection, and stealth attacks can deal bonus damage. Silenced weapons and melee attacks are common tools for stealth playstyles. Perks like Ninja and Mr. Sandman improve stealth damage. Stealth is especially effective for players who prefer long-range sniping or avoiding large groups of enemies. VATS remains an important tool for survival because it allows players to target enemies more accurately and control combat pacing. In Fallout 4, critical hits can be stored and triggered when desired. This allows players to save critical hits for tough enemies or critical moments. Perks can improve VATS accuracy, reduce action point cost, or increase critical hit damage. Some builds focus heavily on VATS as their main combat style. Fallout 4's companion system also supports survival by providing extra carrying capacity and combat assistance. Companions can be ordered to pick up items, hold equipment, and fight alongside the player. Some companions have unique abilities, and some can provide perks when affinity is maximized. Companions also help with exploration by offering commentary and reacting to discoveries. Dogmeat is unique among companions because he can help locate items and enemies. He can also hold enemies in place, giving the player an advantage. Dogmeat's presence can make travel feel calmer, and many players keep him as a constant companion for both practical and emotional reasons. Fallout 4's wasteland can feel quiet, and having a companion helps reduce that sense of isolation. Fallout 4's economy is tied to survival because caps are needed for ammunition, medical supplies, and crafting components. Players earn caps through looting, selling items, completing quests, and trading. Vendors have limited caps, and prices can be improved through charisma and bartering perks. Players can also build stores and settlements, creating local vendors and generating income. This turns settlements into economic tools as well as safe bases. Scrapping and building are also connected to survival because better settlements provide more reliable resources. Water purifiers can produce large amounts of purified water, which can be used for drinking or sold for caps. Farms can provide food for settlers and crafting. Defended settlements reduce the risk of attacks and create safe points across the map. This means settlement building is not just cosmetic, but part of the player's long-term stability. Fallout 4's survival systems are designed to make the Commonwealth feel like a place where small choices matter. Whether it is deciding how many stimpaks to carry, when to use chems, how to manage radiation, or where to build a safe settlement, the game constantly asks the player to plan ahead. Even in a world full of advanced weapons and strange technology, survival often comes down to simple needs like food, water, shelter, and preparation. Fallout 4 includes a large amount of character-driven content, and many of the game's most memorable moments come from companions, side characters, and the smaller communities scattered across the Commonwealth. While the main quest focuses on the Institute and the search for Sean, the world is filled with people who have their own problems, routines, and histories. Fallout 4 uses these characters to make the setting feel populated and alive, even when much of the map is made of ruins and empty buildings. Companions in Fallout 4 are designed to feel more reactive than in some earlier Fallout games. Each companion has an affinity system, meaning they will like or dislike certain actions the player takes. Over time, increasing affinity unlocks new dialogue and eventually a personal quest for many companions. When affinity reaches the maximum level, companions grant a unique perk that remains active even when the companion is no longer traveling with the player. This system encourages players to spend time with different companions and experiment with different playstyles and moral choices. Preston Garvey is one of the earliest companions available in Fallout 4. He is closely tied to the Minutemen faction and becomes one of the main characters associated with settlement defense. Preston's story is built around loss and responsibility because he believes the Minutemen failed the Commonwealth when they collapsed. His personality is defined by persistence and duty, and his questline is designed to encourage players to rebuild communities by helping settlements. Preston's companion perk rewards helping and protecting others, which fits his role as a militia organizer. Codsworth is another early companion and is unique because he knew the sole survivor before the war. Codsworth is a Mr. Handy robot who remained in Sanctuary Hills for over 2 centuries, continuing his routines and trying to maintain the neighborhood. His dialogue reflects a mixture of politeness and sadness because he is still loyal to the family even though the world has ended. Codsworth's existence highlights Fallout 4's time displacement theme, since he experienced the long years of decay while the sole survivor was frozen. Piper Wright is a companion who represents the Commonwealth's information culture. Piper runs a small newspaper called Public Occurrences and is focused on exposing corruption and uncovering secrets. Piper's personality is curious and outspoken, and she often approves of choices that involve helping people or standing up to authority. Her companion perk reflects her ability to find extra experience through exploration, reinforcing her role as someone who thrives on discovering new information. Nick Valentine is one of Fallout 4's most distinctive companions because he is a synth detective with a personality inspired by noir fiction. Nick's presence adds depth to Fallout 4's synth storyline because he shows that synths can have strong moral judgment and emotional complexity. Nick is also connected to the main quest through his detective work and his involvement in tracking Kellogg. His companion perk reflects his investigative skills, and his story explores themes of memory and identity. Paladin Dance is a Brotherhood of Steel companion who represents the faction's military discipline and ideology. Dance is introduced through a Brotherhood questline at the Cambridge police station, where he and his team are fighting against hostile forces. Dance's personality is focused on duty, loyalty, and strength, and he approves of actions that align with Brotherhood values. His personal storyline becomes important because it connects directly to Fallout 4's synth theme, creating a conflict between identity and faction loyalty. Deacon is a railroad companion who reflects the faction's secrecy and deception culture. Deacon is known for using disguises and telling stories that may not always be true. His behavior fits the railroad's need to survive through hidden operations and misinformation. Deacon often approves of choices that help synths and resist oppressive authority. His companion perk reflects his experience with stealth and survival, supporting playstyles that involve sneaking and infiltration. Kate is a companion whose story focuses on survival through hardship. She has a background connected to fighting, addiction, and trauma. Kate's companion quest explores the role of chems in the wasteland and the consequences of relying on them to cope with pain and fear. Kate often approves of tough, direct choices, but her story also includes the possibility of healing and change depending on how the player interacts with her. Curie is one of Fallout 4's most unusual companions because she begins as a Miss Nanny robot. Curie is connected to scientific research and curiosity, and her personality is gentle, intelligent, and optimistic. Curie's storyline involves questions about identity and transformation, and she represents Fallout 4's theme of technology intersecting with humanity. Curie often approves of helpful and intelligent choices, fitting her role as a character motivated by learning and care. MacCready is a companion with connections to Fallout 3, where he appeared as a child in Little Lamplight. In Fallout 4, MacCready is an adult mercenary who is motivated by a desire to help his son. His story reflects how the wasteland forces people into difficult choices, and his companion quest is connected to finding a cure for his child. MacCready often approves of practical and survival-focused decisions, reflecting his background as someone who lives by contracts and necessity. Strong is a super mutant companion who provides a rare perspective in Fallout 4. Strong's motivations are different from human companions, and he often focuses on strength and dominance. His presence highlights the complexity of Fallout's mutants, since not all super mutants are simply enemies. Strong's companion perk reflects his combat focus, supporting aggressive playstyles. Hancock is a ghoul companion and the leader of Goodneighbor. Hancock is known for his charisma and his willingness to protect outsiders and unusual individuals. His personality reflects a mix of humor and seriousness, and he often approves of choices that support freedom and protect the vulnerable. Hancock's story reinforces the idea that ghouls in Fallout are not inherently monstrous, and that many ghouls retain full intelligence and emotion despite their appearance. X6-88 is an Institute companion who represents the Institute's authority and discipline. He is a courser, meaning he is trained to hunt down escaped synths and enforce Institute control. X6-88's presence provides insight into the Institute's worldview, where order and efficiency are prioritized over surface community concerns. His companion perk reflects combat and survival efficiency, fitting his role as a trained operative. Fallout 4 also includes multiple important non-companion characters who shape the Commonwealth. Elder Maxon is one of the most significant, serving as the Brotherhood's leader. His leadership style is strict and ideological, and he represents a brotherhood that believes it must act decisively against threats like synths. Desdemona leads the Railroad and represents commitment to synth liberation. Father leads the Institute and represents the most advanced scientific power in the Commonwealth. Each of these leaders is designed to embody their faction's philosophy. Diamond City includes several important characters, such as Mayor McDonough and security personnel like Danny Sullivan. Diamond City's social structure includes vendors, reporters, and citizens who react to events in the Commonwealth. The city's paranoia about synths is reflected in its policies and rumors. The presence of a large population in Diamond City makes it feel like a rare place of stability. But the city's fear and politics show that stability does not always mean peace. Good Neighbor includes characters like Whitechapel Charlie, who runs the third rail, and Magnolia, the singer who performs there. The town's culture is shaped by its role as a haven for people who do not fit into Diamond City's stricter environment. Good Neighbor's rough atmosphere reinforces the idea that survival in the Commonwealth can take many forms, from structured communities to chaotic safe zones. Bunker Hill is another major location in Fallout 4 and functions as a trading hub. It is known for its caravan trade and its role as a meeting point for different groups. Bunker Hill's importance comes from its location and its established trading network. It becomes especially relevant later in the main quest, where faction conflict can spill into the area. Bunker Hill represents the idea that commerce and trade can become a stabilizing force in the wasteland, even when politics remain unstable. Fallout 4 includes many smaller settlements with their own stories. Places like Abernathy Farm, Finch Farm, and Grey Garden each provide examples of different ways people survive. Grey Garden is unique because it is run by robots who continue farming long after the war. This is an example of Fallout's recurring theme of machines carrying on routines without fully understanding the world's collapse. These settlements often provide quests and resources, and they help make the Commonwealth feel like a patchwork of small communities rather than a single unified society. The game also includes faction-specific outposts and bases that shape exploration. The Brotherhood's Cambridge Police Station is one of the first Brotherhood locations the player can encounter. The Railroad's headquarters under the Old North Church reinforces secrecy and hidden operations. The Institute's underground facility is clean and advanced, visually contrasting with the surface ruins. The Minutemen's base at the castle is a historic fort that becomes a symbol of rebuilding when restored. The castle is one of the most important Minutemen locations. It is based on Fort Independence in Boston Harbor. The castle includes damaged walls, enemy threats, and an old artillery system that can be repaired. Once the Minutemen reclaim the castle, the player can rebuild it and use it as a major headquarters. The artillery system can also be used to provide long-range support across the map if artillery pieces are built in settlements, creating a strategic network of firepower. Fallout 4's character content helps give emotional texture to the Commonwealth. The Wasteland is not only a place of monsters and ruins, but a place where people form friendships, rivalries, alliances, and communities. Companions provide the player with reactions and perspective, and their personal quests add depth to the world. Side characters in settlements and cities add variety and realism, making the Commonwealth feel like a living region with its own culture, fears, and ambitions. Fallout 4 includes multiple systems that affect how time passes and how the world responds to the player, and these details become clearer the longer the game is played. The Commonwealth is not a completely static environment, even though many locations and enemy spawns remain consistent for gameplay balance. Vendors restock supplies, enemies can respawn in cleared areas after enough time passes, settlements can be attacked, and faction patrols can appear in the world. These systems help create the feeling that the Commonwealth continues moving forward, even when the player is not actively completing main story missions. The day and night cycle in Fallout 4 affects visibility, atmosphere, and the overall feeling of exploration. During the day, the Commonwealth often feels brighter and easier to navigate, especially in open rural areas. At night, ruins become darker and more dangerous, and enemies can be harder to spot. Fallout 4's lighting design makes nighttime travel feel more tense, especially in dense urban areas where shadows and broken structures create blind corners. Many players rely on the Pip-Boy light to explore interiors and nighttime streets, which adds to the sense of moving through darkness with limited vision. Weather in Fallout 4 also affects exploration. Rain and fog can reduce visibility, and storms can change the mood of the environment. Radiation storms are a distinctive weather event in Fallout 4. When a radiation storm occurs, the sky turns green and the player begins taking radiation damage unless protected. Radiation storms can happen while traveling or building in settlements, and they reinforce Fallout's theme that the environment itself can still be hazardous centuries after the war. Fallout 4 includes many interior locations that feel separate from the open world. Entering a building often involves a loading transition, and interiors are designed as contained spaces with their own enemy encounters and loot placement. Interiors often include multiple floors, hidden rooms, and locked containers. This design supports exploration because it encourages players to move carefully through buildings rather than simply passing through them. Interiors also allow Fallout 4 to create more controlled combat scenarios, such as ambushes, narrow hallway fights, and multi-level firefights. Enemy respawn behavior in Fallout 4 is designed to maintain long-term gameplay. Many locations will eventually repopulate with enemies after a certain amount of in-game time has passed. This allows players to revisit areas for more loot and combat experience. It also means that the Commonwealth never becomes completely safe, reinforcing the idea that danger remains constant. Some locations, especially those tied to settlements or major story events, can remain more permanently cleared, but many combat zones are designed to refresh over time. Fallout 4's random encounter system adds variety to exploration. As players travel, they may encounter wandering traders, hostile raider groups, faction patrols, or unique scripted events. These encounters can include combat, dialogue, or small story moments. Random encounters help make travel feel less predictable, which keeps long play sessions from becoming too repetitive. They also reinforce the idea that the Commonwealth is active, with people and factions moving across the landscape. Faction patrols are a visible part of Fallout 4's world. Brotherhood of Steel patrols can appear with soldiers and sometimes vertibird support. Railroad agents can appear in smaller groups, often moving quietly. Institute synth patrols can appear in certain regions. Minutemen patrols can appear if the player builds up the faction. These patrols can sometimes fight each other or fight common enemies like raiders, creating dynamic battles that the player can observe or join. Vertibirds in Fallout 4 are used heavily by the Brotherhood of Steel. They can be seen flying overhead, landing troops, or engaging enemies. Vertibirds can be shot down, and when they crash, they create dramatic explosions. This makes them a visually memorable part of Fallout 4's world. The presence of vertibirds reinforces the Brotherhood's military power, since air mobility is rare in the wasteland. Fast travel is available in Fallout 4's most difficulty modes, allowing players to quickly move between discovered locations. Fast travel supports convenience, especially in a large open-world map. However, in survival mode, fast travel is disabled, making the world feel much larger and more demanding. Without fast travel, players must plan routes, manage supplies, and rely on settlements as safe points. This changes the game's pacing, making exploration slower and more deliberate. The Pip-Boy is central to Fallout 4's interface and time management. The Pip-Boy allows the player to view quests, manage inventory, check the map, and access radio stations. The Pip-Boy interface is designed to feel like a piece of in-universe technology with a green monochrome display style. Fallout 4 also allows players to change the Pip-Boy display color in settings, though the default green remains iconic. The Pip-Boy is also used for the flashlight-like light source that helps explore dark areas. The VATS system is another mechanic that affects how players experience time in Fallout 4. VATS slows down time rather than fully pausing it, which differs from Fallout 3 and New Vegas, where VATS pauses combat completely. This means that in Fallout 4, the player still needs to be aware of movement and danger while using VATS. The slowed time approach makes VATS feel more integrated into real-time combat, and it encourages players to use it quickly and strategically. Fallout 4 includes multiple difficulty settings that change enemy strength and player vulnerability. Higher difficulties increase enemy health and damage output. Survival mode adds the most changes, including hunger, thirst, fatigue, disease, and restricted saving. These systems make time management more important because the player must schedule rest, plan supply routes, and avoid unnecessary risks. The need to sleep to save also makes bed locations valuable, and players often memorize safe sleeping spots across the map. Settlements operate on their own internal resource systems. Food production must match or exceed the number of settlers. Water production must meet settlement needs. Beds must be available for all settlers. Defense should be high enough to reduce the risk of successful attacks. Happiness is affected by meeting these needs, and unhappy settlements can become less productive. Settlement management can become a long-term project, especially for players who build large networks. Settlement attacks can occur when the player is away. The game may notify the player that a settlement is under attack, and the player can choose to respond. If the player does not respond, the settlement may still defend itself based on its defenses and armed settlers, but it may suffer damage or lose resources. This system encourages players to build strong defenses and maintain supply lines, since settlements are not completely safe even after being established. Fallout 4's building system includes a wide variety of structural pieces and objects. Players can build walls, floors, roofs, stairs, furniture, lighting, and decorations. They can also build functional objects like generators, water purifiers, turrets, stores, and crafting stations. The building system allows players to create simple shelters or complex multi-story towns. It is one of the most open-ended parts of the game, and it can become a major focus for players who enjoy construction and design. Electricity in Fallout 4 settlements requires generators and wiring. Generators produce power, and objects like lights, turrets, and water purifiers require power connections. Wiring can be placed between power sources and powered objects. Managing electricity adds a practical engineering element to settlement building, where players must plan layouts and power distribution. Larger settlements often require multiple generators or advanced power sources to support heavy infrastructure. Settlements can also include stores that generate caps and provide access to goods. Stores come in multiple types, such as weapon shops, armor shops, clinics, and general stores. Building stores requires perks and resources, and better store levels provide better inventory and higher income. Clinics are especially useful because they provide access to healing and addiction treatment without needing to travel to major cities. Fallout 4's economy is influenced by time because vendors restock after a certain period. Players can sell loot to vendors, but vendor caps are limited, meaning players often need to visit multiple vendors or wait for restocks to sell large amounts of items. This creates a loop where scavenging produces more loot than can be sold immediately, encouraging storage and planning. Some players also use settlement production, such as purified water farming, to generate caps over time. Purified water production is a common method for generating caps because water purifiers can produce large amounts of purified water, which can be collected from the workshop inventory. Purified water can be used for healing, crafting, or selling. This system makes settlements not only safe bases, but also economic engines. It also ties into Fallout's theme of water as a valuable resource, since clean water remains important even centuries after the war. Fallout 4's crafting and modification systems also operate on time and repetition. Players gather materials, return to workbenches, upgrade equipment, and then repeat the cycle. Weapon and armor upgrades require perks and resources, meaning progression is tied to both leveling and scavenging. This encourages players to explore new locations for specific components, creating a reason to revisit dangerous areas or seek out industrial ruins. The Commonwealth's long-term feel comes from how these systems overlap. Time passes, weather changes, settlements grow, enemies return, and factions move across the map. Fallout 4 does not simulate a fully living world in the way some games attempt, but it uses enough dynamic systems to create the impression that the wasteland is active. Even when the player is simply walking from one location to another, there is a constant sense that something might happen, whether it is a storm rolling in, a patrol passing by, or an unexpected fight breaking out in the distance. Fallout 4 includes multiple forms of progression that go beyond leveling up, and many of the game's long-term goals are shaped by collecting, upgrading, and building. Even when the main story is not being advanced, players often continue progressing through settlement expansion, companion perks, crafting upgrades, and exploration-based rewards. This layered progression system is one reason Fallout 4 can be played for a very long time, because there is almost always another improvement to make, another location to clear, or another system to optimize. Leveling in Fallout 4 is based on experience points gained through combat, quest completion, exploration, and crafting. Players earn experience by killing enemies, completing objectives, discovering new locations, and building or modifying items. The game's leveling curve allows for steady growth over time, and each level grants a perk point. Because perk points are the main way to improve a character, leveling is closely tied to build planning. Players often decide early whether they want to specialize in stealth, heavy weapons, crafting, settlement building, or dialogue. The SPECIAL system in Fallout 4 defines base character attributes: strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck. These attributes influence combat effectiveness, survival, and perk access. Strength affects melee damage and carry weight. Perception affects accuracy in V, A, T, S, and detection. Endurance affects health and resistance. Charisma affects trading prices and settlement leadership. Intelligence affects experience, gain, and access to crafting perks. Agility affects action points and stealth. Luck affects critical hits and random benefits. Unlike Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, Fallout 4 does not use a separate skill point system. Instead, perks replace skills entirely. This means that improving lockpicking, hacking, crafting, or weapon specialization requires selecting specific perks rather than investing points into a numerical skill category. This system simplifies progression while still allowing specialization, but it also means players must plan perk choices carefully if they want access to advanced crafting or utility abilities early. Crafting perks in Fallout 4 are some of the most impactful because they unlock stronger upgrades. Gun Nut allows advanced weapon modifications. Armorer allows advanced armor modifications. Science unlocks high-tech mods and settlement power options. Chemist improves chem crafting and effectiveness. These perks require certain intelligence levels, meaning players who want strong crafting early often invest in intelligence at character creation. Crafting perks can significantly increase damage and defense without relying solely on random loot drops. Settlement-related perks are also important for long-term progression. Local Leader is one of the most influential settlement perks because it unlocks supply lines and advanced settlement building options like stores and workstations. This perk requires high charisma, meaning players who want to build large settlement networks often invest in charisma early. Settlement building becomes more efficient as the player unlocks better structures, stronger defenses, and improved resource management tools. Combat perks shape how the player handles fights. Rifleman improves damage with non-automatic rifles. Commando improves damage with automatic weapons. Gunslinger improves pistol damage. Big Leagues improves melee damage. Heavy Gunner improves heavy weapon damage. These perks allow players to specialize in a preferred weapon type, making combat more efficient. Damage perks often scale over multiple ranks, meaning players can invest repeatedly over time to increase effectiveness. Stealth perks are important for players who prefer avoiding direct fights. Sneak improves stealth effectiveness. Ninja increases sneak attack damage. Mr. Sandman increases damage with silenced weapons and can allow special stealth kills. These perks support a playstyle where the player eliminates enemies quietly, conserves ammunition, and controls encounters from a distance. Stealth builds often combine agility and perception to improve V, A, T, S, accuracy, and action point capacity. V, A, T, S. Focused builds often invest in luck perks. Luck perks can improve critical hit generation, increase critical damage, and provide random combat benefits. Better Criticals increases critical damage. Critical Banker allows storing multiple critical hits. Grim Reaper's Sprint can restore action points after kills in V, A, T, S. Four-Leaf Clover can randomly refill critical meters. These perks make V, A, T, S combat more consistent and powerful, especially against tough enemies. Fallout 4 includes a large number of collectibles that provide permanent bonuses. Bobbleheads are one of the most notable collectible types. Bobbleheads increase S, P, E, C, I, A, L stats or provide other benefits. In Fallout 4, collecting a bobblehead can increase a stat even beyond its normal maximum, which makes them valuable even for highly optimized characters. Bobbleheads are hidden in various locations across the Commonwealth, encouraging exploration. Magazines are another collectible type in Fallout 4. Magazines provide perks or bonuses, such as increased damage with certain weapons, improved crafting options, or better survival abilities. Magazine series include titles like Grognak the Barbarian, which provides melee-related benefits, and Guns and Bullets, which provides weapon-related bonuses. Collecting magazines adds small improvements over time and gives players reasons to search through ruins and hidden rooms. Fallout 4's companion system also provides progression through affinity and perks. Each companion has a unique perk that unlocks at maximum affinity. These perks can provide bonuses such as increased damage resistance, improved experience gain, or better combat performance. Because companion perks remain active even when the companion is not traveling with the player, players often rotate companions to unlock multiple perks over a long playthrough. This creates a long-term social progression system alongside combat and crafting. Settlement progression is another major long-term system. Settlements start as small locations with minimal infrastructure, but they can grow into large towns with farms, defenses, shops, and power grids. Building up settlements requires resources and time, and it often becomes a major project. Some players focus heavily on creating a network of safe bases across the map, turning the Commonwealth into a more controlled environment. Settlement growth also supports survival gameplay, since settlements can provide food, water, storage, and safe sleeping spots. Fallout 4 includes multiple settlement locations, and each has its own terrain and building challenges. Sanctuary Hills has large open space and many ruined houses that can be scrapped. Red Rocket is small but defensible. Starlight Drive-In has a large flat area and can support big builds. The castle has strong walls but requires repair. Spectacle Island is large and isolated. Hangman's Alley is cramped but located in the city. These differences encourage creative building solutions and make settlement management feel varied. Supply lines allow settlements to share crafting components, which is essential for large building projects. Without supply lines, players must transport junk manually between settlements. With supply lines, a settlement can be used as a central crafting hub while still building smaller outposts elsewhere. Provisioners traveling between settlements also create the feeling of movement and trade, reinforcing the idea of rebuilding civilization through networks. Fallout 4's combat progression also includes weapon and armor upgrading. Weapons can be improved through mods that increase damage, accuracy, range, and recoil control. Armor can be upgraded with stronger materials and additional bonuses. Power armor can be upgraded with improved durability and special modifications like jetpacks. This equipment progression means that the player's power increases not only through perks, but through better tools. Power armor progression is unique because it requires both fusion cores and maintenance. Power armor pieces can break and need repair. Repair requires materials like steel and aluminum, which encourages scavenging. Different power armor models have different durability and protection levels, meaning players can gradually upgrade from early suits like T-45 to more advanced suits like T-60 or X-1. Power armor can also be painted with different paint jobs that provide bonuses, such as increased strength or improved faction reputation effects, depending on the paint type. Fallout 4 includes a large number of unique weapons and named items that can serve as long-term goals. Some unique weapons are tied to quests, while others are sold by vendors. Named weapons often have special legendary effects, making them valuable for specific builds. Collecting these items becomes a progression path of its own, especially for players who enjoy completing side quests and gathering rare gear. The game's economy supports progression because caps are needed for ammunition, medical supplies, and shipments of crafting materials. Vendors sell shipments of resources like steel, wood, and adhesive, which can speed up settlement building. Players can earn caps through looting, selling items, completing quests, and producing purified water. This creates an economic loop where exploration and crafting feed into long-term growth. Fallout 4's DLC expansions add additional progression systems and goals. Far Harbor introduces a new map area, new factions, and new quests. Nuka World introduces raider factions and new equipment. Automatron introduces robot building. Vault-Tec Workshop adds vault-themed settlement building options. Wasteland Workshop adds traps and creature-related settlement features. These expansions extend the game's crafting and exploration systems, providing more long-term objectives. Far Harbor is known for its atmosphere and moral complexity. It includes factions like the people of Far Harbor, the Children of Adam, and the synth community of Acadia. The island environment includes heavy fog and dangerous creatures, making exploration feel different from the Commonwealth. Nuka World introduces multiple raider gangs and allows the player to interact with them in ways that can affect settlements. These expansions add variety and give players new environments to explore. Fallout 4's long-term progression is built on repetition, but it is repetition with small improvements. Each trip into the wasteland can result in new components, new gear, new perks, and new settlement upgrades. Over time, the player becomes stronger, not only because enemies are defeated, but because the world becomes more organized. Settlements become safer, supply lines connect communities, and the player's tools become more refined. Fallout 4's progression systems are designed to make the Commonwealth feel like a place that can gradually shift from chaos toward stability, depending on how much effort the player invests in rebuilding. Fallout 4's downloadable content expansions add new locations, quest lines, enemies, equipment, and building options, and they significantly extend the game's long-term gameplay. Fallout 4 has 3 major story expansions: Far Harbor, Nuka World, and Automatron, along with 3 workshop-focused add-ons: Wasteland Workshop, Vault-Tec Workshop, and Contraptions Workshop. Each expansion is designed to fit into Fallout 4's systems, meaning they connect naturally to crafting, settlement building, exploration, and faction conflict. Automatron is the first major story-based DLC released for Fallout 4. It introduces a new questline involving a mysterious character known as the Mechanist. The Automatron storyline begins when the player encounters a caravan that has been attacked by hostile robots. These robots are called Rust Devils, a raider-like group that scavenges and controls robots. The player becomes involved in stopping the Mechanist's robot forces, which are causing chaos across the Commonwealth. One of Automatron's most important gameplay features is the Robot Workbench. The Robot Workbench allows the player to build and customize robot companions. Players can modify robot limbs, armor, weapons, and AI modules. Robot companions can be built from scratch or created by modifying existing robots. The robot building system allows for a wide range of combinations, including different robot types such as Mr. Handy-style designs, Assaultron legs, and heavy Sentry bot components. This system fits Fallout 4's crafting focus and gives players another way to create a personalized companion. Automatron also adds new robot enemies and loot. Rust Devil enemies often use robot parts as armor and rely on robot companions in combat. The DLC adds new weapons and modifications, including robot-themed gear and parts that can be salvaged from defeated machines. Because robots can be heavily armored, Automatron combat often involves energy weapons, explosives, or targeted limb damage to disable enemy units effectively. Far Harbor is one of Fallout 4's largest expansions and adds a completely new map area. The Far Harbor region is set on an island off the coast of Maine. The island is known for heavy fog that reduces visibility and creates a constant atmosphere of tension. The environment includes forests, cliffs, shoreline settlements, and ruined facilities. Far Harbor's map design is more isolated and wilderness-focused than the Commonwealth, giving it a distinct feel. Far Harbor's main questline begins through a missing persons case connected to Valentine's Detective Agency. The story involves a girl named Kasumi Nakano who has traveled to the island. The player investigates her disappearance and becomes involved in the island's faction conflict. Far Harbor's narrative is known for presenting difficult moral choices and complicated faction relationships. Far Harbor includes three major factions: the people of Far Harbor, the children of Adam, and Acadia. The people of Far Harbor are a fishing community struggling to survive against the fog and dangerous creatures. They rely on defenses and barriers to keep threats out. The Children of Adam are a radiation-worshipping religious group that sees the fog and radiation as sacred. Acadia is a community of synths led by Dima, who seeks a peaceful solution between factions. The fog in Far Harbor is more than just an atmosphere detail. It is tied to the region's danger because it contains radioactive particles and conceals hostile creatures. Fog crawlers are one of the most notable enemies introduced in Far Harbor. They are large, mutated creatures that can be extremely tough in combat. Far Harbor also includes unique wildlife and enemy variants that make exploration feel more dangerous compared to many parts of the Commonwealth. Far Harbor introduces new equipment, including marine armor, which is one of the strongest armor sets in Fallout 4. Marine armor has a heavy, military look and provides strong protection. The expansion also includes unique weapons and crafting materials. Far Harbor's environment encourages careful resource management because the island's threats can be intense and travel can feel slower due to the fog and terrain. Nuka World is another major story expansion and focuses on a large pre-war amusement park that has been taken over by raiders. Nuka World includes multiple themed park zones, each with its own enemies, environmental hazards, and quests. The expansion introduces three main raider gangs: the Operators, the Disciples, and the Pack. Each gang has its own style, culture, and priorities, and the player can become involved in raider leadership. Nuka World's park design is one of the expansion's most memorable features. The park includes areas like Safari Adventure, which features animal-themed attractions and dangerous creatures, and other zones built around different themes. The park's bright colors and cheerful branding contrast strongly with the violence and decay of raider occupation. This contrast fits Fallout's style, where pre-war optimism is often twisted into something darker in the wasteland. Nuka World introduces new weapons, including the handmade rifle, which is associated with raider forces. The handmade rifle is a powerful ballistic weapon with customization options, and it uses 7.62 ammunition. The expansion also adds new melee weapons and raider-themed gear. Nuka World's equipment rewards support both raider playstyles and traditional combat builds. One of Nuka World's biggest gameplay changes is that it allows the player to take on a more aggressive role in settlement management. The player can establish raider outposts in the Commonwealth and force settlements to supply them. This creates a different style of play compared to the Minutemen-focused rebuilding approach. Nuka World's system allows players to roleplay as a raider leader, which is a major shift from the usual heroic rebuilding narrative. Nuka World also includes Nuka-Cola variants and collectible items. Nuka-Cola is heavily featured because the park was built around the brand. The expansion includes unique beverages that provide different buffs, and it includes lore about Nuka-Cola's pre-war marketing. This deepens Fallout's corporate satire and shows how brands could become cultural institutions even in a collapsing society. The workshop-focused DLC add-ons expand settlement building options. Wasteland Workshop adds features like animal cages, allowing players to capture creatures and build arenas. It also adds decorative items and new crafting options. Vault-Tec Workshop allows players to build their own vault, including vault-themed rooms, hallways, and experimental devices. This DLC connects directly to Fallout's Vault theme and allows players to create an underground settlement with Vault-Tec style design. Vault-Tec Workshop also introduces vault experiments that the player can run, such as devices that affect settler happiness and productivity. These experiments reflect Vault-Tec's history of unethical testing, but they are presented in a gameplay-focused way. Building a vault can become a large construction project because it involves creating connected rooms, power systems, and living spaces. Vault building uses special vault pieces that snap together, making it different from standard settlement construction. Contraptions Workshop adds mechanical building options, including conveyor belts, manufacturing machines, and sorting systems. This DLC allows players to create automated production lines in settlements. Players can build machines that produce ammunition, armor, weapons, and other items if they supply the right materials. Contraptions Workshop supports players who enjoy building complex systems and optimizing resource flow. Fallout 4's DLC expansions also add new settlement locations. Far Harbor includes new settlements on the island, allowing players to build in a different environment. Nuka World includes the option to establish raider outposts and expand influence. These new building opportunities provide more variety for players who enjoy construction and management. The expansions also add new enemies and challenges that extend combat variety. Far Harbor's creatures are often tougher and more unusual, with fog-related threats and unique wildlife. Nuka World introduces raider factions with different combat styles and heavily themed areas with hazards. Automatron introduces more robot-heavy combat, with enemies that can have strong armor and specialized weapons. These additions keep the game from feeling repetitive for long-term players. Fallout 4's expansions are designed to connect to the base game systems rather than replace them. Players can bring their existing weapons, perks, companions, and settlements into the DLC content. The DLC areas provide new loot, new perks, and new stories, but they still rely on the same exploration and crafting loop. This makes the expansions feel like natural extensions of Fallout 4 rather than separate experiences. The overall effect of Fallout 4's DLC is to broaden the Commonwealth's possibilities. Players can explore a fog-covered island with complex faction politics, take control of a raider-run amusement park, build robot companions, construct vault interiors, and automate settlement production. These expansions add new goals and long-term projects, which fits Fallout 4's design as a game built for extended play sessions and continuous progression through exploration, building, and customization. In the end, Fallout 4 remains a game built around routine survival and slow rebuilding. The world is harsh, but it is also full of small details and quiet spaces. Whether the player chooses to lead a faction, build a network of settlements, or simply travel alone through ruined streets, the Commonwealth offers a steady flow of discoveries. Fallout 4's lasting appeal comes from how it combines exploration, crafting, combat, and atmosphere into a world that feels endlessly searchable, where even after the biggest decisions are made, there is still always another road to follow and another place to see.